Ranger 1 for Car 1. Car 1's on scene. Assuming command. Give me a CAN report.
What's going on, everybody? This is Mike Goldstein. Stickers of the CAN report. Nozzle top, everybody. I'm bringing back New Hampshire, the Granite State. I have a really special guest. We've been working with each other for a while to try to get our schedules to line up, and they finally did. I have Stephen Holmes with me. Stephen Holmes has been, man, he's been doing great things for a lot of us and the mental health side of things, about talking about the important topics, talking about what is real, talking about PTSD. He's a strong advocate for mental health. He's got a great story, and he speaks it so well. And I'm so pumped to have you on, Stephen. So Stephen Holmes, he's on at the Exeter Fire Department, and he's here with us tonight. And I'm just excited to talk to you, Stephen. Thank you so much for being on the CAN report.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, my pleasure, man. And before we get into the meat and potatoes, just love to get the shout out. If anybody has not yet, please click the like, the subscribe, the follows. I know I say it a lot, but it really does help for me to keep going and let me know that you guys are watching. If there's things that you guys want to hear, if there's new topics, this is the platform to do it. So let me know if there's someone you want me to have on my show, if there's any certain topics or tactics or operational kind of fields you want to go down. Shout me a message, and I'll do my best to get these people on, or we'll just talk about it. So with all that being done, I'm going to jump right into your bio there, Steve. He is a New Hampshire native. He's got 3 tours to Iraq in the Marine Corps Infantry, firefighter since 2009, paramedic since 2012, full-time in Exeter Fire since 2011. He's a lieutenant since 2021. He's a mental health advocate and public speaker since 2020. And a meditation teacher since 2024. Man, that's it. That's his bio. So thank you so much, Steve. I appreciate you, man.
No problem. Yeah.
So, well, we're going to jump into it, Stephen. So tell us who you are. How did you start in all this? Like, I'm going to jump right into it. What made you want to go into the military?
Well, I mean, when I was in high school, we started going down, getting closer to graduating, and everyone was talking about college and stuff. And that never was even really on my radar. I never had any interest in it. I really didn't like school at all. I didn't have the grades to get in, certainly didn't have any money to go. So that was just never really an option for me. And so I can't say like I've always wanted to be in the military since I was a little kid or anything. But once I actually started getting old enough to consider it as a possibility, it just kind of took off. I would say the biggest thing was 9/11. That happened when I was a sophomore in high school. And at the time, I didn't realize it, but it made me very angry. It changed a lot. And then, that brief moment of extreme patriotism that the whole country experienced, which was something that I feel bad that people younger than me have never experienced. Because I kind of look at that like that's how America was during World War II, like when everyone was working together for a common goal. Like there was a brief period, a couple of years after 9/11, where everybody was proud to be American. We were all on the same team for once. There was no racism and bigotry. We're just, it's America, and we have a common enemy now. So that was definitely motivating for sure. And I think that pushed me towards the military. That, and, my junior year, we invaded Iraq, and, I started seeing that on TV and stuff. So once I saw that, and I saw what was going on in Afghanistan, I just knew in my heart, like that's where I need to be. There was no other option for me. And both my grandfathers were veterans of World War II and stuff. And I respected them. I admired them. I looked at veterans differently. Even as a kid, I saw someone like my grandfather who had been to war, seen combat, seen all these terrible things, and they're just such a nice person now. And I'm just couldn't help but think like, man, they've experienced a part of life that so few people ever get to. And I say get to, that's a double-edged sword, because it's not like it's something everybody wants, but we're only alive once, and, we all have a role to play. And at the time our country was attacked, and I was pissed about it. And so I wanted to do something about it. I was motivated. I was ready to go. And so I started looking into it, and I quickly was drawn to the Marine Corps just from the rumors that they were badass and tough and all this shit. I didn't know anything about the Marine Corps. When I went to my recruiter, he asked me what job I wanted, and I said, well, I want the infantry, of course. Like, what other job is there?
Yeah.
Like, that's how ignorant I was at the time. And he's like, well, there's hundreds of jobs you could do. I'm like, no, infantry's fine. And he's like, okay, perfect. Fill that quota. And so yeah, I left for boot camp like a week or two after I graduated high school in 2004, and then I
Wow.
did my first deployment in February of '05, and then again in '06, again in '07, and yeah.
What made you to keep going back for tours?
Well, I'd like to. It kind of sounds like there's a hidden compliment there, and I appreciate it. But once you're in, you don't have a choice.
Okay.
So, like, okay, for instance, when I first got into the fleet, so I first got to my unit, to the infantry and stuff, Fallujah was happening, the first takedown, or maybe it was the second. I don't remember. Shit was going down in Fallujah. There was a lot of action, and people were getting killed, and they were calling for replacements. And me and my buddy Jam were like, we'll go. And, we knew we were about to leave in 2 months anyway, but we're like, we're ready now. Like, we're wasting our fucking time here. We want to be over there.
Yeah.
We never ended up going. We stuck with our unit, but um, at that time, the units were rotating in such a common cycle that you could pretty much predict it. And so, being that when I joined, when I got to the unit, how close it was to the deployment date, I was just part of the group that ended up going on 3 in 4 years. There's other people who only did 2 in 4 years. It depends when you go in, you know what I mean? But
Mhm.
I was kind of, I say fortunate now, hindsight being 2020, that I got 3 in. I had to extend for my last one, but um, yeah, just back to back. It's a 7-month deployment. It's like a 10-month workup, and bing, bang, boom. You don't know where you're going, but you know you're going. So
That's insane. I mean, not insane. I don't want to use that word. That's just crazy to think about, like, your childhood, right? Like, you've gone your high school, and then everyone's planning for college, and all of a sudden, boom, you're right in the thick of it. You're in the military, you're in the Marines, and you're going to Iraq, and you're protecting our country and helping others. And you brought up how your grandfather and your family members served, and it makes me think about them as you're telling your story. It really resonates about what they did. That they knew they needed to help their country. They knew they needed to help people. And I mean, imagine they went like right from high school, the same thing. They went right into the service and served. And it's always amazing to me because it almost sounds like cinematics, right? Like, you see it in the movies all the time where, people are joining right up out of college or right out of high school, and they spend their formative years as teenagers and then now adults, all that time in there. So you grew up now, spending now your more adult years in the military. And how was that like? Could you, when you came back, could you assimilate with people your age who did not done this right out of high school? Like, anybody who's not military, did it feel completely different?
yes, very. That one's an easy one. Yes, very. Um, I mean, I turned 19 in Iraq on my first deployment, and
Yeah.
I mean, you can talk to any veteran, uh, especially one who's done multiple combat deployments and stuff. Like, it ages you. There's just no way around it.
Yeah.
How could it not? You know what I mean? Just the stress, the physical toll, the mental toll, the exhaustion, the poor nutrition and hygiene. Like, it ages you. And by the time I was already a veteran of 2 deployments before I could legally drink a beer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so it's very hard to relate to other people who, are maybe just getting their license at 21, or like their first job or something. It's just a completely different world, and it is very hard to relate. And I definitely, that's a whole long conversation of itself of the loss of getting out of the military, and which I'm happy to go down that road. But to touch upon it briefly, um, you spend. I can only speak for my personal experience, which I know is a little unusual. You spend 4 years doing everything in your power to bring each other home, to protect each other, to take care of each other. Like, you practice diving on grenades to protect your squad. Like, like you are ready. I was ready to die, still am, for my brothers, and then you come out and you lose all of them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that sounds dramatic, but for those who have experienced it, it's not. It's a loss. I lost. I was with these people every day, through thick and thin, through the worst, the best, like the closer than brothers. There's not even a word for it. And then all of a
Yeah.
sudden, we all just go to our separate parts of the country, and maybe we talk, maybe we don't, maybe we see each other once or twice every few years and stuff. It's a loss. It really is, and it took me a good 12 to 15 years after I got out to really feel that, to really understand the weight of it, and to kind of like let it go. It's a lot to carry on top of everything else, not to mention the conditioning, and the way I learned to be an adult doesn't work in America. It doesn't work in 2025. So you the military, the Marine Corps, wired your brain, and is very good at it, hundreds of years of practice, to be prepared to do one thing, and that's to go to war, to fight war, to be a warrior. And
Yeah.
they do it, and they get you there, and there's no way around it. I was ready. I was a Marine. I was 100% in, like all in, completely drank the Kool-Aid. You had to, you have to,
Yeah.
like, and then, oh, it's your EAS take, time to go home. And
Yeah, that's it.
or you just forget all that and just go be a normal person again. Like, what's a normal person? Like, I am a normal person to me. You know what I mean? So it took years of, honestly, therapy and failure and just depression and just a lot of life to finally realize that, what, there has to be a different way of playing the game. And like, the way I learned, the way I was so confident, so sure that I was doing it right in the military, because I was, doesn't work here. And so
Yeah.
you need to kind of rewire your entire way of viewing life, your entire perception, your way of thinking, your way of dealing with people, your way of talking, your tone, your demeanor. It's everything. It's all encompassing. And with very little guidance, you're on your own. Before, you had your brothers to go through hell with. Now you're just on your own,
Yeah.
trying to figure it out. Like,
It's
okay,
crazy because you lived a lifetime in 4 years,
it feels
right?
that way. Yes,
Right.
it
And
does.
that's what I just, again, I get this, like you said, you changed a lot. It changes you physically and mentally. And I just thinking in my mind as you're talking, like how much you can change in those 4 years, and how much of a life you lived, and you weren't in the United States living it. You were somewhere else, in an area that no one really knows about except you and your brothers. And that changes you dramatically. And I just, coming back to this world, and you've lived such an intense life. Like I said, you lived lifetimes in those 4 years of doing that, and then coming back, and like you said, like, how do I assimilate? I think I'm doing it right, but then I'm sure now as you're talking, I'm going to go with the next step. But now it's like people are telling you you're not doing this right.
Right.
You're kind of scaring us a little bit.
Yeah. And what do you mean? And then,
Yeah.
like it took a long time for even my family to know how to talk to me. You know what I mean? Like, and that's a weird one, and I'm sure that many people who were in my situation can relate. Like, I have a good family. I have brothers and sisters. I have a mother and stuff. Like, I have a lot of people who care about me and stuff. And I'd come home, and we'd get together and stuff, and it would just be very, oh, so how's your day? How's this? How's that? And it's all cordial and fine, but the only thing on my mind is Iraq. Like, I'm not home yet. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter. Like, all I can think about every day, not now, but I'm talking then, few years to, I'd say the first 10 years getting out, was just Iraq, Iraq, Iraq. My experiences, my memories, my dreams, my everything. It's still going on to me. And all these people who I'm closest with, that I care about, that care about me, won't bring it up. They don't know how to bring it up. They don't want
Yeah.
to hurt me. They don't know how to, they don't, maybe they don't even want to know the truth, to be honest. Like, what, I'm sure there's many levels of why that didn't happen, but it's like, it's such an internal struggle when you're sitting there like, if only I could plug you into my head so you can see what I think about. I don't give a shit about all these petty little day-to-day things. Like, I'm thinking about going on patrol. I'm thinking about getting shot. I'm thinking about all this other stuff, which is, it, in my mind, from my perspective, a much bigger deal, and certainly has much a greater effect on my life of who I am as a person. So you kind of just eventually, well, I mean, at first I was bitter, I was angry. I'm like, well, they don't care, they don't give a shit, blah blah blah. Looking back now, of course they give a shit. They didn't want to hurt me. They're trying to protect me,
Right.
and that's all good. We've long since had that conversation, like, and but it's just, it's a, how do you do that? There's no training for the family either. How do
Yeah.
you talk to someone is struggling, is suffering? You don't want to hurt them anymore. You don't know what to say. Right at the moment, they seem okay. Well, if we bring it up, maybe now they're not okay, and now that's your fault. Like, it's a hard subject to cross. Where do you begin? What's the right question? How do you broach that? Like, something traumatic, something awful, something heavy, and
Yeah.
it took a while for, and eventually, with therapy, with other friends and stuff, asking questions, eventually I was able to start talking about it. But to be fair, I don't even know how I would have answered it, even if they did ask it.
Were there, when you say like asking questions, and was there something that that was obvious to them that there was issues going on that you were struggling with being back, with being part of this, honestly, this new life for you? Was it like, were you being distant? Were you being irritated, agitated easily, lashing out, or were you reclusive, and that they couldn't get a hold of you or come close because you were literally in kind of in your own world or your room?
Kind of all the above, really. I mean, I was just very angry. That's the one that stands out the most. It just, always angry. Like, you're hanging out with someone and you can tell they're pissed off, and you just know everyone knows they're pissed off. The energy
Right.
is different, short, snappy responses, that weird look, and so I think that in a way, I was giving a lot of signals of, don't bring it up, like, and I'm saying this, in all fairness, like, as a human, it hurts to feel like the people closest to you know nothing about you. It hurts to think that they don't care, but that's
Mm,
not the truth. That's one of a million perspectives that has some validity to it, because I'm a human with emotions, but it doesn't mean it's the whole truth. There's a lot more going on. And once you get through those emotions, once you step back, you can kind of see the bigger picture of, well, they don't know what they don't know. Like, how could they know? Like, how could
yeah.
they know?
How
Half the
did you?
reason of doing this is to protect them from knowing the shit that I saw. Like,
Yeah.
I'm trying to carry that burden so they don't have to.
How did you know then to seek out therapy? What was it just someone saying, finally having the balls to say, "Hey man, you need to talk to somebody," or was it for you having an awakening going, "I don't feel right. I need to do something about this."
I was pretty in the dark for the most part, for a while. I mean, I'm not a complete idiot, and I wasn't completely unaware. I knew I was angry. I knew I was depressed. I knew I was, um, not happy. You know what I mean? I was aware that of all these things, but I was just so used to it. Like, that's what it was, just normal. Like, in how do I put this? When I was in the Marines, all of us were fucked up. We were all mad and angry and sad, depressed, and, like, dealing with all this shit. Like, so that was normal. That was life. That's how it's supposed to be. So then you get out, and nothing has changed for me. I'm still miserable. I'm still depressed, still dealing with this shit, still having nightmares, still, you know, angry, still all this stuff. Like, so it didn't feel like there was a problem, because it was just par for the course. It was just another day, like,
Yeah.
and it wasn't until um my marriage started failing, started talking about divorce, that um we agreed to go to marriage counseling. other than that, I don't know if I would have gone. I don't know what it would have taken, because I still was kind of like, no, I'm fine, just still in the denial, just not fully accepting. I had already been diagnosed with PTSD for a few years at that point, and like I agreed with it, but I still didn't. Uh, I still at the time didn't feel like it was like, oh, I'm fine. Like, yeah, I got it, but I'm fine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you get married when you were going through your tours, or when did you get married when you were all done with everything?
No, when I was done, I was dating a chick in high school, and then we we broke up actually because I joined the Marines and she didn't want me to, and I said, well, too bad. And so we broke up, and then I went and did my 4 years, and then got out, and we got back together,
Gotcha.
and then ended up getting married like a year later. So
And then so you were struggling with, again, coming to terms with everything, and dealing with these issues and these problems.
sure,
And then your wife is now telling you, hey, this is becoming a big problem between the two of us.
sure, yeah. And when we started talking about going to therapy, like I still I still didn't think it was me. Like, no one thinks it's their fault. Like, well, it's your fault, And
Yeah.
so, but I was open to it. I'm like, well, we've known each other a long time. Like, I don't want to get divorced. I do love you. Like, if this is over, let's at least try before we, call it quits. So, I had a buddy who saw this woman in Exeter, and he recommended her. He's like, she's great. So I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. So we signed up, we went, um, and we saw her like once a week for a few months or several months or however long it was, and it helped. I mean, it helped a lot. I stayed married for quite a long time after that, and
Mm.
and being that I it went so well, like I had a good experience, and it was helping my marriage, and I was getting to know this person, getting comfortable with her. Eventually, she like asked, hey, seeing as how things are going okay, like maybe we don't need to do the marriage thing anymore, but if you'd like to come see me, just you and me, then I'd love to talk with you. And I'm like, okay, sure. And so then I just started seeing her on my own. And,
Nice.
yeah. And, that was eye opening. I always tell everyone therapy is step one, because you can't fix a problem you don't know exists. And one of the things this woman did for me was just helped me to understand where the problems were. I knew there was problems, all the red flags and signals and bells and everything was going off, but I just didn't know where or how, or clueless. And she kind of helped me just focus, and just like a emotional, Ritalin or something, just really helped me focus on, okay, these are the issues that are causing me the most pain and suffering right now. You know what I mean? And so once you realize that, you can work on it, you can talk about it, you can figure out,
Yeah.
is there something I can change, or do I need to let it go? If I need to let it go, how do I let it go? And then so it's a process. It's not going to happen overnight, but if you're patient and you trust the process, if you like the person you're talking to, that helps a lot.
It takes dedication with anything. Like working out,
Sure.
Marines, firefighting, like, yeah, you gotta dedicate your time. You gotta put in the work, and
Gonna
in
put in the
therapy,
work.
you
Yeah.
you gotta put in the work. You gotta stay dedicated. Now, you joined in 2009 in the firefighting business, right?
Yeah.
Um, that was pretty much right after the military.
Yes. Yeah.
And did that help at all? Because did you want to be a firefighter before you joined the military?
Well, my one of my best friends in the Marines, and arguably still, well, he's still one of my best friends. I talk to him all the time. His name's Pat Murphy. He's on Baltimore Fire. He's a lieutenant down there, and he's been on for like I think 16 years or something like that. He he's one of those guys who always knew he wanted to be a firefighter. His brother's a Baltimore firefighter. His father's a chaplain on Baltimore Fire. Like, he's from Maryland, and he always knew. So he talked a lot about that while we were in, and I didn't really have any direction. I knew I wasn't going to reenlist, um, but most people were like, "Oh, I'm just going to go be a cop," because there's not a whole lot of transferable jobs from the infantry to the civilian world. A cop's kind of an easy one. And I just that doesn't interest me. I have nothing but respect and love for cops, but that's not me. And he started talking so highly of the fire service. He seemed very excited about it, this and that, and that kind of planted that seed in my mind. Like, hey, that could be something I could be good at. I could do that. That seems like a good gig. I knew nothing about it at the time. Kind of the same thing as the Marine Corps. Like, okay, well, there's a direction. I'll go that way. And so when I got out, I just went back to my hometown. I joined the volunteer fire department, and then I went to recruit school and got my EMT, got my intermediate, then applied everywhere, couldn't get hired anywhere, got my hazmat tech, got all this other stuff. No, still no one was hiring me. And then finally it was like, well, fuck it. I'm going to paramedic school, I guess. Use the GI Bill. And then a month later I got hired in Exeter. So
Isn't it amazing that you can really write your own ticket when you become a medic?
yeah, well,
Pretty much go wherever you want.
yeah, that's true. It worked.
So was it an easy transition to go from military life to firefighter life? Was it,
No.
or was it difficult?
Yeah. I mean, the fire service is, paramilitary. There's rank structure. There's all this.
And
Other
that's
stuff.
why I was getting at, is because you got that paramilitary structure, but
Right.
it's not the military.
No, it's a completely different animal. I mean, again, I can only speak to my experience. Like, I work with guys who were in the Army and the Air Force, who are still in, or firefighters in the Air Force, and maybe it's similar in that regard to them, but being in the Marine Corps infantry from 2004 to 2008 to the fire service, completely different. Just besides the fact that there's lieutenants and captains and stuff, that it's other than that, there's almost no
Yeah.
comparison from my personal experience. So and one of the things that drove me nuts was I remember in recruit school, one of the instructors like talking about how this is like the military, this is it, just talking a big game and everything, and I just looked at him like, you were never in, were you? I just like, clearly you're just talking shit, and those of us who know can see right through you, so you might as well shut up. So
Yeah, no, and it's a good point you make about that, because there are a lot of people who do say that, right? And
oh sure.
and I guess you gotta have to know your audience, but also it's not like you have a sign around your neck that says, you know, Marine. So it's when they're talking like that, I like that you're able to say, were you in the service? Because I can tell you're not.
Yeah.
So maybe not use that line. And I think that's really cool that, I was just like having a conversation with somebody else. Like, we are losing that, I guess I would say bluntness, right? Like we're losing that ability to tell somebody, I don't appreciate what you're saying, but in a good way. Like we don't have to be complete dicks, but for you to say like, hey, I wouldn't really continue to use that term because I served and I went through the shit. So don't associate yourself with what I did. And
Right.
I can definitely see that. And I love the fact that you were able to speak up about that. Now, my question to you is,
It's patronizing, like
right, it's patronizing. Like I can totally see it, man. Like, and I really appreciate that. And that's why I had to to jibe in right there with that, because I think that is so important. I love that you're able to do that, because I hear it. I do hear it a lot, in our fire service world. We try to associate ourselves with the military part, and I work with some fine men and women who are in the military, and they, and we don't have to walk on eggshells. And I know you're not asking people to walk on eggshells for you, but to be able to be aware, like, what we're doing and what you guys did is completely two separate beasts. And I love that you're able to tell them, hey, yeah, I don't appreciate you doing that. You're like you said, it's the meaning of what I did and what I accomplished. Now,
yeah.
when you had to do shift work, now you're sleeping in station, and because what I'm trying to bring up is the smells, the sounds, the sights, and we talk about PTSD, which especially for military. Upon my reading and kind of doing some research, like some things would trigger people, right?
Sure.
So when you're sleeping at the station, when you get your tones or the lights go on when you get these tones, was that alarming more than we normally are alarmed by these things? But was it more to you than how it would affect me?
um I don't think so. I mean, the tones and the lights and stuff, I didn't really experience any of that overseas, so I can't directly
Okay.
relate, you know what I mean?
Sure.
I'm trying to think of I honestly can't really think of anything at the moment that stands out as far as just starting shift work of like being triggering. I mean, one of the obvious ones is when I first got back. I like so many people wasn't thrilled about fireworks. Now, fireworks sound nothing like IEDs or mortars or income. They don't, but they're close enough that that if you're freshly back,
Yeah.
yes. I mean, I definitely experienced that. For sure. Shift work, no. I mean, uh, I do want to circle back real quick because you had said something, and I'm not trying to jump over the place, but you had said
Oh,
something
by
that
all
was
means.
a great point. When we were talking about the instructor at the fire academy and just how we've lost our bluntness in the fire service, and I couldn't agree with you more. And I don't feel it's though my place to make generalizations. I think that's often pretty ignorant. But from my experience, um, my opinion is that yes, we've lost our bluntness. We have, unfortunately, society as a whole and the fire service has not resisted this. Has traded honesty for kindness, and we've restructured our virtues as a culture to put kindness above honesty. And when you do that, you lose bluntness, you lose direct communication because you're using extra time and energy to sugarcoat something that you don't need to sugarcoat. We're all adults here and we don't always have time to take the long road, and sometimes we need an answer now. And like, I think that if one of the things that I took away from the military, that if I have any leadership in me, is bluntness, and you need to be direct. It's not everything needs to be like go, 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 but you need to be able to communicate clearly, honestly, uh, the first time, and not leave room for misinterpretation or misunderstanding or questioning and stuff. And besides just working with other firefighters and cops and stuff, I find that that is the absolute best approach that you can take with patients, particularly mental health calls. Because if you go on a mental health call for someone who's suicidal or depressed or whatever the deal is, bipolar, schizophrenic, and you're full of shit, they're going to see it.
They're going to see it. Yeah.
If
Yep.
you talk down to them, they're not going to fucking like you. They're not going to talk to you. Like, you need to be clear. You need to have eye contact. You need to treat them with the utmost respect. And otherwise, you lost them. That's it,
Yeah.
period. But people not that, in fairness, that takes some people a long time to figure that out. And experience, you see the good medics, you see the good firefighters, the people who've been doing it a while, like they can just talk with anyone like their brothers, like their friends and stuff. It could be just a random homeless person having a schizophrenic episode, and you're just talking to them the same way I'm talking to you now, because why wouldn't you?
Yes.
You know what I
Yes.
mean? And that's how you get a rapport. That's how you build that rapport. So that's something that I certainly took away from the military, because everything is blunt,
Yeah.
everything is direct, and there's no sugarcoating. There's no beating around the bush. You're going to get called for it. So you just don't do it, but
Right.
we,
And in your line of work, you didn't have time. Like you said, there's no time
no,
to have to beat around the bush to get that message out. I mean, God, that's life and death right there. If you're not relaying that message to them and you're making it absolutely clear, that's somebody's life, yours, your brothers and sisters. Like, that's serious shit.
yeah,
So I do love, like, that. That's where it does tie into me for the fire service. We do need to be blunt. We do need to speak our minds when we need to. But like I talk about a lot, we don't have to be complete assholes either. There's a
no,
difference between being blunt and a difference between being an asshole.
definitely,
And right. And then because you don't have, there's not name calling involved.
no,
There's not being a complete shithead involved. But like, if I need to relay to you a specific order, it's going to be done. I need to do it blunt. I need to do it direct. It's going to be short. And I need to make sure you understood it, because there's a situation that's happening. And I love that, man. It's a great topic. And man, you friggin' nailed that, dude. That was, I didn't want, because I couldn't interrupt, because what you were going with, man, was fantastic. Like, you just absolutely, that was truth bombs right there. And I loved what you had to say for that message, man.
well,
Absolutely.
I mean, there's no, I feel like a lot of times people, they're not willing to take constructive criticism. You know what I mean? Like, and a lot of people are insecure, you know, like, and I think the stereotype is that, you know, people in uniforms are very secure, very confident, we're just people, you know, we're all
Mhm.
people. We all have our own baggage. We all have our own shit. And, I just, I think the difference between being an asshole to someone and being blunt is 100% delivery. If you cared about someone, you wouldn't put them down. You wouldn't demean them. You can communicate respectfully, honestly, and bluntly without hurting people's feelings. Now that takes practice, as does everything, but it should be practiced. You know,
Yeah.
that's called proper communication. That's healthy communication. That's leadership. You know, if I work on shift with these two guys, and the guy on my right is a good friend of mine, I hang out with him outside of work. Guy on my left, I don't really like him. I don't really trust him, whatever. If I talk to him differently than I'm talking to him when I'm giving an order as their lieutenant, that's not fair. That's not right. You know, I should be able to be respectful to both of them,
Yeah.
whether you're a friend or not, you know, because in the Marine Corps, I had a lot of friends, and it just so happened I was in charge of them at times. And at times I had to tell them what to do. And at times they said, well, fuck you. We just got shit faced last night. And I'm like, I know we did, but we're at fucking work right now. And you need to listen. You can't do that. Like, we're friends. Don't be an asshole. You know what I mean? Like, this is how it's got to go. We got to play the game, you know, like, and so it is a game. It's all a game. I'm not saying that it's trivial, but it's a game, you know, and we all have roles to play, and there's no reason why we can't just be respectful for each other. You know, like, everyone has names, and, you know, oh, you know, you find something to make fun of, and that's fine if they're laughing too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And it really is like we talk a lot about leadership lately, right? That's I think been a big topic
yes,
for the fire service. You see it all over social media, and it's good. I'm glad we're talking about it. I talk about it a lot, and I think it needs to be said. But I love what you're going with that is that um, you can be a leader, you can be strict if you need to with what you need to have done and have those direct orders, but also have those open communications without being a complete dickhead about it. Like you can actually, and then honestly, I think after the call's done, to be able to have that communication, those open lines, and when if you were talking to me and I didn't like the way you expressed what you needed to have done, and I could feel comfortable to go up to you, go, hey Lou, like why were you treating me like an asshole? Did I do something wrong? And to be able to talk in you, to be able to have those open lines of communications, like, yeah, man, let's talk about it. This was this issue, that was that issue, but you know, let's resolve it. That's amazing. Those are the things that make good leaders. It's the ones that completely shut you down. And it's, I have the bugle and that's the way I want it done. Don't question me ever again. No, you cannot talk about that. Those are the people that need to actually listen to you and understand like there it does take experience. And honestly, like again, we talked about you lived a lifetime in 4 years. That's the lifetime of experience and leadership experience and knowledge that a lot of people don't have. And for you to be able to hone that and bring that back into the fire service world is impressive.
well, I try. I mean, I don't know. I think you probably make me sound better than I am, but I don't.
I doubt that, man. No, you're a solid guy. So you dealt a lot with the PTSD, and you're seeking therapy, and then you started to becoming more into your own. It seems like, and then I got to listen to you speak at my department, and I loved what you had to say, and the room was silent. It was like you can hear a needle drop, right? Like you had the room, you captured us, and you talked a lot about meditation, and that was like your thing. And you said that you talked a lot about that. So can you touch about or talk a lot about, if you want, about the meditation part of it? What was it to you?
Well, that one's a little tougher of a question,
Mm.
or longer, I should say, not tougher.
Sure. Yeah, we got
Yeah.
time.
um, you know, it's my perception that everything, not only does everything happen for a reason, but everything happens when it happens for a reason. The timing of events is just as important as the event itself. And it took a long time for me to get to a place where I was willing to let go enough of my identity, of who I was, because I was at the end of my rope and there was nothing left to try. I had struggled for so long. I had done therapy. Um, I tried medical marijuana. I've done ayahuasca. I've done psilocybin journeys. I've tried a lot of things. I've done combo. Um, and eventually I hit a point in 2019, um, where things were going down at work. I was very angry. I mean, I don't know how much time we have. I don't want to completely.
No, go ahead, man. We got time.
Okay.
Go on, brother.
So basically, I'm barely hanging on. I'm working multiple jobs. I'm dealing with all this stuff. I'm miserable. I'm going to therapy. I'm making an effort, but I don't really feel like it's doing a lot of work. I try to get promoted at work. I have to take a class at the fire academy. I go to the fire academy. Um, I made a comment during the class that someone misheard or just made up, I think is, from my perspective, more fair to say. Uh, this person told the instructor that I made this comment that women don't belong in the fire service.
Mm-hmm.
And which is ridiculous because I don't believe that. And I work with women. I have worked with women almost my entire career and friends with them. And I don't believe that. It's bullshit. And I didn't say it. But the teacher, the instructor, calls my chief, and my chief takes it as if it were truth and pulls me out of the class, me and my buddy. And then the next day or 2 days later or whatever, without talking to me, suspends me for a week without pay.
Wow.
And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, I had been on the job, 8 years at the time or whatever it was. And all this stuff. And I'm like, it's not true. And my buddy who was in the class, he's like, yeah, he didn't say that, but he already had it typed up. He didn't even want to hear my side of the story. So suspended me for a week without pay. And I just lost. I was so fucking angry, like just seeing red, just homicidally angry. Anyway, it, it was bad. I didn't know how to not be so angry. I couldn't, it was there. It was a vibration inside that was so uncomfortable and heavy, but I didn't know. I wanted it gone. I didn't know how to let it go. And to the point where I was losing time. I was blacking out. I was losing time. And I kind of, one day I was on a call, and, I was a paramedic at the time. We walk in on the call, and I'm in this person's house, in this person's living room, and I drop the first in bag and I look around, and I have no idea where I am, like completely.
Wow.
And then I look down, I'm like, okay, I guess I'm at work. I guess I'm on a call. Like, and so I just kind of went with it, and we did the call and we went back. But like, I'm making the stretch at the hospital. I'm like, I'm not okay. I'm not okay. I'm going to get someone hurt. I shouldn't be here. I can't do this. I'm not okay. Like, that was the closest to insanity I've ever felt. I felt very much unstable. I didn't trust my brain. I didn't trust myself. And that, it's a horrible, horrible feeling when you get to that level. If you ever, hope you never do. And so I just took a bunch of time off work. That was the last time I grew my beard. And, I just used a bunch of sick time, vacation time. I used personal time. I used all the time I could, swaps, everything. Go ahead.
To cut you off, did you mention this to anyone? Did you?
No.
When you took the time, when you're taking the time off, did you say, I'm taking time off because I'm fucked up, like I need help? No. So you're literally you're taking sick leave, taking personal leave, and without letting anybody know, like, I'm mentally, like, not here. I'm shut down.
I was afraid to tell people. I didn't know how the reaction would be. And I just, at this point, I wasn't sure if I was just going to quit or what. I just knew I needed to not be there. And so I I'd call in, I'd bang out like, hey, yeah, I'm using 24 hours sick. And, the lieutenant at the time would be like, you all right? And I'm like, yeah, fine. Okay. All right. Bye. And then, just same thing next week or whatever. Like, and I just did that. And then eventually, during those 5 weeks I took off, uh, that's when I got into meditation. I had been reading a book on it that my wife had given me, the book that I mentioned and everything, and I'll mention it again because it's arguably the most influential book of my life. It's Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Dr. Joe Dispenza, and it touches upon meditation. What is it doing? Like, how is this working? It talks about the science of it and everything, which I really needed because I was just a very devout atheist, agnostic. I didn't trust anyone. I didn't believe anything. I didn't nothing, and so I was not into it at first, but it was a really good book. It caught my attention, and as I was reading it, it was just one of those books where I'm like, this is it. This is something. And I was like, this is what I need right here. This all makes so much sense, and I need to do this. And that's when I started trying. And I, like most people, I failed, and I'd like to circle back to that. But I couldn't turn my mind off. I just sat there and just blah, 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 it was just felt like a waste of time, but I just
Were
kept
you
trying.
still in therapy at this time, or were you done with therapy?
That's a good question. Um, I, I think at that point I still maybe would see her a couple times a year, but not
Okay.
regularly. You know what I mean? And, and so, one day and I talk about this, you've already heard this in my presentation, but one day I just kind of woke up, I'm a few weeks in. I feel like I had this last bit of hope with this meditation book, with meditation. I'm like, this is the thing that's gonna fix me, that's gonna help me, and I just kept failing at that too. And I just woke up just feeling like, fuck it, I don't want to be here anymore. Like I want to get off this ride. Like I'm fucking done.
Mm.
I'm just fucking done. And somehow, some little piece of me, some little part of me is like, just try it one more time. And so I'm like, all right. So I grab my headphones and, I go to like YouTube. I just fucking type in meditation music, whatever. It doesn't matter what it is. And I just sit on the floor in my bedroom, cross my legs. I close my eyes and, I'm just like, here we go. Okay. And I just take a deep breath and I just try to relax and I just try to clear my mind. I try to do all the things. I go through a mental checklist of what the book talked about and how to do this. And it just wasn't happening. And all I could just hear is the same bombardment of mental chatter, just my mind, blah, 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 a mile a minute, just anger, doubt, like, well, you're wasting your time, this is bullshit, blah, 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 all these things, just
Mm.
chaos. Right. And I was just about ready to just like call it quits and get up. And, and I just felt this moment of like, I'm done. I just can't fight anymore. I'm done fighting. And at that moment, I just I just let go. I just completely fucking relaxed into it and let go. And I noticed it getting quieter. And I noticed like my mind was quieting and my feelings were kind of dissipating. I don't know, consolidating, whatever you want to call it. And I just became very focused and very present. And I took a breath like it was the first breath I'd ever taken, and I let it out. And I just felt light. I felt like
Mm.
I had just taken off like 100 pounds that I'd been carrying. And I started crying. I didn't even know I was crying at first. Tears were coming down my face. And I just felt at the first time in over a decade and a half, I felt the emotion peace. I felt truly at peace. And it, I just I couldn't believe it. It was an emotion that I had completely forgotten even existed. I hadn't felt any semblance of peace in so long, longer than I could remember at this
Wow.
point since childhood, and, uh, it only lasted a few minutes before, it started. oh, I got to do this. Oh, think about that, blah, 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 before the mind kicked back on. But it was everything. It might as well have been, an hour. It was life changing. And it proved to me that I could do it, that this is something, this does work. This is something's happening here, and that there's hope, and that maybe if I just keep up with it, I could live like that,
Yeah.
I could be normal. I could let go of all this shit. And it only came at a point where I was finally able to release, to let go, to surrender is the best word, to surrender, just because I'd been fighting. I carried a suit of armor with me for so long, and I finally figured out how to take it off. And I was hooked, like it was heroin, and I did it every day, um, increasing as I went, for the next couple of years. And then, I started doing it, maybe not every day, but, several times a week. And I still do it to this day. And I, I, I give it, I've done a lot of things, and a lot of things have helped, but that has helped me by far the most in more ways than I can really describe,
And then
for
you
another hour.
but then you became a meditation coach.
Yes. Yes.
So, did you go to classes for that? I imagine you had to did you have to relearn, or was it just a class to be able to help you harness it?
I I didn't go to any classes.
Oh, okay. You just kind of did it on your own. And you started teaching people how to do it.
I consider myself self-taught, even though the book, I learned from that book, but that book, it gives you like that's the, meditation for dummies type of thing. It's a
Sure.
starting point. It's a very, I'm not trying to downplay it. It's an amazing book. He's an incredible guy, and it was everything. It was life changing. But like, that was the beginning. That was just to help you get to the place where you could meditate, and then from there, it's up to you. And by the time I reached my goal of 45 minutes a morning, like I I could I could be in that state of mind even when I wasn't meditating. It carried over. It carried
Yeah.
throughout the day. And the longer I did it, the more I was able to access and harness. And so not only was it crucial for my stability, my stress, my focus, my unresolved anger, emotions, fear, whatever. But it also, gave me an immense clarity and understanding of myself and of my thoughts, because, you know, how you identify is everything. And if all day long you're just ba, 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 I think, like, then all you are is thoughts, and you never really get to the root of where these thoughts and emotions are coming from. And
Yeah.
this was a place where I could listen to myself, and I learned myself. I figured out who I was better, and it helped me grow as a human, and heal. So
That's amazing. But it's just I love that that was something that you really took upon yourself to find and worked on it. Like you said, like we talked earlier, right? Therapy, you got to dedicate yourself to that. Meditation, you dedicated your mind to that, to help that, to clear your mind, to get that calmness. And that's again another incredible thing that you're able to do, man. Like do that on your own and dedicate yourself and not give up, and then teach others how to find that calmness is great. I love it. It's a great story. Now you also though you do motivational speaking,
yes,
and it's like I said, I got to listen to it at our department, and I love that our department invited you to come in and speak with us. It was again the room was yours, like you captured all of us. Um, what inspired you to do this? Like, because a lot of people don't feel comfortable talking about their stories. Sometimes they just want to do their thing and just remain who they are, but you're taking it one step further um and promoting this whole thing that we're all trying to deal with, mental health. So why do you do it?
well, um, several reasons for sure. I think, again, timing of why I did it. It was the perfect time, because when I started um, when I started presenting, this was during COVID, right? I mean, I wanted to do this before COVID, um, but I wasn't ready, and then the world wasn't really ready, and so it kind of kicked it down the road, but it needed to. There's no regrets, and basically, once I started feeling better, once I started ha- having clarity, it made it a lot easier for me to put into words what I had experienced and was experiencing. Where before I didn't have the focus, I didn't have the attention span. I wasn't able to go deep enough, or it hurt too quickly. Where once I started meditating, I just listened. I just sat and listened to myself every day for like an hour at a time or whatever, at at whatever was going on in my head. Um, like like you're watching the sky and you're just looking at clouds come by, and oh, look at that cloud. Oh, what's up with that one? Oh, here's a cloud. Look at that one. And you just observe it. You just listen to it, because it's telling you what's going on the inside. You know what I mean? And you sit with your emotions. You sit there and I'm blank. I'm just here to observe. And why do I feel tight right here? What's going on? You know what? Oh, I'm fucking stressed. Why am I stressed? Well, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Okay, well, I've been picking up too many shifts at work, or whatever it is, or, family problem, whatever it is. Like, you just have to sit and observe. You have to ask the question, and all these answers kind of come to you. And so once I started getting this clarity, um, around the same time, my buddy Vanessa killed himself. And I had gone on all 3 tours with him. I had had other friends who had killed themselves. I had known other people who've died. I've lost a fair amount of friends and family at this point in my life. But that one was pretty recent, and again, this was someone I knew very well. He was a brother. He was in my platoon, all 3 tours, and wife and daughter, and he hung himself, and we all went down to Arlington for the cemetery, and it was just so sad. And I felt a lot of guilt. I felt a lot of shame. I should have reached out more. I should have, you start thinking, oh man, I remember that one time I was a dick to him or whatever, like
Yeah.
all these things. It just, you go down these roads and, um, you know, if only he knew what I knew, if only I could have talked to him about meditation, whatever, like I could have, I should have, could have, would have. And so I was feeling better. I was getting clarity. I was becoming more able to put my thoughts and feelings and experiences into words. My buddy Vanessa took his life, which affected me greatly. And on top of that, I became more aware of the mental health issues in the fire service and in all first responders, not just the fire service, cops too, especially cops. And I could see the same patterns. I could see the same stressors. I could see the same issues with my military friends who I still talk to, and my fire service and first responder friends who I talk to. And I'm like, you know what? They're really not that different. The only difference was my military friends got a shitload of trauma in a short little period of time. And then my first responder friends got a shitload of trauma over a long period of time.
Yeah.
But it's all the same thing. You know what I'm saying? Like so I started noticing the patterns and the similarities. I started paying more attention to the suicide rates in the first responder world, and they're pretty fucking high, disgustingly high. And I also noticed that besides that guy from the Charleston Six at the time, no one was fucking talking about it. Or if there was, I didn't fucking know of anybody. I hadn't heard of anybody.
Yeah.
And so I kind of just felt this responsibility that, you know what, I'm going to fucking talk about it. Like, this is something that I felt very passionate about. It's something I felt like I knew well, and I wanted to continue developing my ability to talk about it and express it in the hopes that other people could see the truth and relate and not feel alone or not feel like suicide is the right option. I knew that, like we talked about earlier, the only way that this was going to work or be effective at all was to be 100% honest and blunt. and direct, and like you said, you saw me, like, I like to think I don't sugarcoat anything. Like, I tell it as it is. I try to put it all out there that this is my story. This is what happened to me. This is what I experienced. This is what it felt like. This is what I did about it. This is what happened. This is what they did. Like, these are all facts. Check it. You know, if it doesn't make me look good, well, I don't care. I don't need you to like me. I need you to take care of yourself so we don't have to go to another funeral. Like,
Yeah.
it's not about me. I don't really give a shit if people know my name. I'm not trying to make money. I'm not trying to sell anything, or push anything. Um, I just want to push people to do something, to stop doing nothing, to stop pretending like everything's okay and that there are no problems and all first responders are just tough, and that you can go on 12 calls a day and go home and everything's fine, and there's nothing to talk about. Like, it's so ridiculous and unrealistic, and the mindset that worked for the people who came before us doesn't work anymore. And I could go into why that is, but it doesn't, period. It's just, we need to change our strategy and tactics, because my town is doing twice the amount of calls it did 20 years ago.
Yeah.
You think I can do the same thing that my buddy Chris did 30 years ago when he was on? No, you have to adjust, and so, I try to share my experiences. I try to share what worked for me, what didn't, to kind of hope to give people the courage to just try new things. There's no one right way. There's no magic pill. I don't like any pills. I try to leave pills completely out of it. I think it's awful and it's a scam. Now, is there time for medication? Of course. Yes. But there are so many other things you can do that have so many other benefits and are so much healthier. And meditation has been around for thousands and hundreds of thousands of years. You know what I mean? Like, this is nothing new. I didn't invent this.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you that, like, I was pretty fucked up and it did a lot for me, and it still does. And so why not try it? It doesn't cost you anything. You don't have to go anywhere. You don't need a membership. You know what I mean? You just need some guidance. And that book was what guided me. And, I try to guide others. That's why I started teaching. My sister's a yoga instructor, and she helped me set up an opportunity to
Well,
do
nice.
some meditations, just guided meditations. And so I didn't go to any classes, but at the time when I started doing it, I'd been meditating almost every day for like 5 years. So I had some experience, and I think that was enough. I have taken a hiatus from that, but I do have every intention of going back. And yeah, it's just that you got to go with what you know, and that's what I know. That's what I'm passionate about. It's affected me
I love it, man.
in every way. And I have a
Now,
brother who's a veteran and a firefighter too, and so I got a whole family and friend group of all this stuff.
that is so cool. I love it, dude. And you could tell you're passionate about it. And that's it's just, again, what strikes me with you is that you're very genuine and you're very passionate about it. And when you gave your lecture to us, there wasn't any fancy PowerPoints. I don't think you had any, actually, if I remember
No.
correctly. It was just you. And that was like one of the first presentations I got to sit in of someone not using PowerPoint to that. Like, you were able to do all of this just off of your own heart. You're being passionate into this and wanting to help others, and you didn't need to build a power slide for it. It was just literally you just coming straight from the heart, being blunt, and you were incredibly blunt in your presentation. And it was powerful to listen to. It was powerful to see how you could take all that from memory and keep driving that message. And you're continuing to do that. And you also you're part of another program as well that you helped out with. There was that play, and it was the elephant.
Oh, the elephant in the room. That was honestly, that was just a one-time thing. That was the
Okay.
only time. Well, I mean, if they invited me back, I'd do it. But that was the only time I had done that, and I thought that it was better than I expected. I think a lot of people hear like a play about like PTSD or mental health or whatever, like, what the hell is that? But it actually was, pretty good. It was very, very relevant. So it's
Yeah.
impressive that a group of civilians can put that on.
And I thought that was really cool. Again, I like that you were there for it. And if anyone's ever curious about the elephant in the room, it is a play, like Steven said, and they take civilian actors and they play out like issues that we experience at the firehouse or police officers or EMS. And it's not a fancy play. It's really just people just sitting in chairs and they go over the script and they talk and they act that script out of like things that we would actually deal with PTSD. And I really did like it. I was skeptical at first too. Like, we're all skeptical. Like we were a bunch of firefighters sitting in a, in a theater, listening to complete strangers put on a play about mental health and PTSD. It seemed really, really weird and, kind of grassroots, but it actually was, as it progressed, it actually, we started to really listen and absorb it. And it was a really cool play to see and to listen. And I love hearing your story, man. I love the passion you have for it. And again, you just, the fact you're just so genuine in it, that's the best word I can describe it, is that's who you are. You're very genuine and you're very about the mission and the cause. And what really gets me to want to talk with you and get this message out is because you're not in it for money. You're not in it for fame. You're not in it for glory. You're not in it for to sell books and stickers and t-shirts and speaking engagements all over the world. You literally you could give two shits about that. You just want to be able to talk about the mental health aspect of things, meditation, and to help us get better. And that's what's really cool, because when you go on social media, there's not a whole lot about you. And that's what's really, like, that's what strikes me is, again, you're very humble in that respect of it, is that, if people want to talk, I will talk. I will go to wherever you need me to go to preach that message. But other than that, man, Stephen Holmes is just Stephen Holmes. Like you're just right there. You're getting that person. You're getting that real dude. And there's no smoke and mirrors to it, man.
Yeah, I don't know. I hate fakes. That's all.
Mm.
I and I don't understand why people have to go out of their ways to boost themselves up. I just feel like it's 2025 and the days of the ego are so far gone. Not that there isn't a place, but it's certainly not helping in the fire service. And I think, from my perspective, mental health and leadership are go hand in hand, and are much more
100%.
closely related than most people ever give it credit for. I know, I've talked to a lot of people. I've done quite a few presentations, and I've met a lot of people. I've gone to quite a few at this point, and more often than not, people will come up to me after and just talk, and just they'll share a little bit of their story. They'll share, kind of what they thought, and if they're coming up to me, it's because they have something to say. So,
Yeah.
I sit and listen. And one of the common recurring things that I've noticed is there's an insane connection to failures in leadership and people's mental health struggles.
I'm smiling because that's literally what I talk about almost on the fucking daily.
And
And I've talked about it immensely on my platform, and to anybody who wants to hear it, because honestly, it's still kind of taboo to talk about you have to talk about shitty chiefs, to talk about shitty leaders, and it affects the mental health aspect immensely. And
huge.
it's huge, man. And I'm so, man, I'm pumped that you actually brought that up, because that's something I struggle with daily. Like, you talk about how your head's always filled with the blah 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 blah. That's usually me when I'm like, I'll pass my old station and all of a sudden my head starts going, and I'll start thinking about all the things I used to do at that firehouse and some of the good things and then some of the bad things, and then my head's just going, and all of a sudden I just start talking. I talk to myself all day long, but I'll start talking to myself about things that I feel like I don't agree with, and are things that bothered me still. And I work daily to figure it out. I work daily to clear my mind and have that calm spot. But there was, the bad shit, the bad leaders really do mess you up, and you
Yes.
carry that home, and it hurts a lot. And it's crazy. Like, the shit that we've seen, the shit that we do, like I say all the time, like I can work a code on a baby. I can pull a 16-year-old out of a car. I can go to a structure fire. I can do all these things, and it's not going to bother me because it's not personal. But when you have a leader that hits certain spots that make it that way, that take it personal, that's where it affects me.
For sure. I mean, I've said many times to quite a few people, like, I will go through hell and back as long as I'm appreciated and supported. Without those two things, then what the fuck are we doing here? I'll just go bang nails for a living. Like, you know what I mean? It's just to constantly feel like things are getting worse, not better, to not feel advocated for, to not feel supported, to not feel like you can go and say, hey, I'm struggling, I need help, and actually get help. You know what I mean? It's just, again, I'm not trying to generalize, but from my experience, it's lacking. It's lacking a lot. And, you know, we could speculate on why that is. I think there's many reasons. It's a very complicated topic, but I think in a way it's not pointless. It's unproductive to try to figure out whose fault it is, right? It's interesting, and we could go down that road, but it's not productive. The more productive thing is, where do we go from here, and how do we fix it? How do we make it better? Because I don't know who's listening from what state and stuff, but in New Hampshire, there's a drastic shortage of people who want to be firefighters and cops. And so
Amen.
I'm just presuming that that's kind of nationwide. And that, again, is for several reasons. But I believe as though since the fire service has changed, we need to change with it. We are too busy. And I'm speaking every who's listening. We're too busy. All of us, everyone is too busy to be oppressed. We're too busy to be led in the station. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying you have to be a veteran to be a leader, but back in the day, after World War II and all that stuff, there was a fuckload of leaders out there who filled in. And now it just feels like there was a time where there was good leadership, and it feels like that has passed. There's not as many leaders nowadays for many reasons, not just because we don't have giant wars and stuff, but I think the rank structure, it's not the rank structure that needs to change. It's the roles of the rank structure that needs to change. And this is the first time I'm ever pitching this on any sort of public platform, but I've been thinking a lot about it lately. And I'm dead serious. I feel as though the position of chief should no longer be looked at as these are the leaders of the department.
They're serving others. They're serving us.
The chiefs are the supporters of the department. The chiefs need to remove themselves from this pyramid and get off their high horse. And there's a lot of good chiefs, blah, blah. I'm just saying, let's all just take a step back here and look at this realistically. In the Marine Corps, right? The objective is to win wars, to win battles. And every job and every position in the Marine Corps is in support of the infantry, the people on the ground fighting the war. Everyone, from the obvious ones, tanks, artillery, logistics, all that stuff like that, to the non-obvious ones, some of the admin things to make sure we get paid and benefits and stuff. Like, every job that's there is because it supports the infantry, it supports the mission. And in the fire service, the mission is answering calls, whatever that is. And the people on the floor, from captains and below, that's your infantry. Those are the people who need to be supported. Those are the people on the front lines, whatever metaphor, cheesy metaphor you want to say. And in my opinion, everyone else is just there to make sure that they are taken care of, that they have what they need to complete the mission. And so I think, being that we have such a drastic failure in leadership across the board, it seems that way, a total revamping of not only our virtues of honesty before kindness, but also our roles that we play in our organization of, yes, I'm a chief officer. I make more than you because I've been here for 20 years or whatever, you know, but I'm not above you. I'm not better than you. You're not below me. You're not my subordinate. I'm here for you. What do you need?
Mm-hmm.
What can I do? What can we change? You're like, who's burnt out? Like, what do we need to do? Do we need to move some people around? Like, how do we need to restructure? Like,
Yeah.
you tell me and let me support you. And so it's just a whole different role, you know, like in Buddhism, a Buddhist monk, you know, and I'm not, I get generalizations. Buddha, in a Buddhist temple, the number one Buddhist, the main dog, he scrubs the toilets. You see what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
we need to stop trying to be above one another. I've worked with too many people who they want to get promoted. They want to be a lieutenant. They want to be a captain. So that way they're in charge. So that way people have to listen to them. If that's your motivation, you shouldn't be a leader.
Mm. Yeah.
Because if I thought for 1 second that the only reason why my guys listen to me is because I have a bugle, I'd quit. You know what I mean? Like the rank, that title is a pay structure. People listen to me because I like to think I know what I'm talking about, and because I treat them with respect. Like, and I've been there a while and I have experience. So that's what it is. These formalities, they come into play at times, but like, we're not going to war here. You know what I mean? Like, and there's very few times where that rank structure really fucking matters. You know, what we really need is we need teamwork. We need a consistent team of people who are trying to achieve a common goal, not people who are just trying to outrank each other. That's got to go away. It doesn't fucking work anymore. You know, it kind of worked in the Marines, but that's a much different place. Again, this is completely different. So,
No, I honestly don't disagree with you. I think you're absolutely right, and I'm trying to remember where there's many books out there about leadership, and I remember reading on like taking that pyramid and they put it with the top down.
beautiful.
And
That's
it's supporting the mission. It's supporting their men and women. So there is it's out there, and I'm drawing a blank. It's been a while since I've read it, but there's imagery out there of showing that pyramid taken and inverted, and that the top of that pyramid's down in the bottom, because that's where the chiefs know that they need to support the whole mission and be there for their men and women. It is out there, and I think it's a great conversation, man. I think it's such another topic we could talk about, man, for hours, because I love it, because like you think about it, there might be chiefs out there listening going, well, no, that's fucking wrong, because, well, who's going to pay the bills and who's going to go to these town meetings and answer the mayor? And they're right. They have that responsibility. That is their job. But like you said, like,
the mission.
You support the mission. That's part of that, supporting that mission.
Exactly.
And you said it too. Like, there's really good chiefs out there. There really, really are. And I've seen them. I've met with them. I get to work with them now. I'm fortunate enough now where I do have that structure, where I do feel like I have a strong leadership team. But my previous history, I did not have that. We worked in a culture where people were afraid to speak up, where people bowed down to that one person or a couple of people because they knew they had to listen to them or else would be held to pay, you know, and that was the structure, was they're God and we are nothing.
Right.
And like you said, that's not leadership, you know, and there's a difference between managing people and leading people. And you're absolutely right, man. Like we need to restructure it, and people need to understand, like, the bad leaders kill the morale. And honestly, they don't realize how much of a mental turmoil that they have on us, and they need to be more aware of how it affects us personally and mentally on the job. Now, I'm going to circle back to real quick, is when I asked you if you went and told your chief or officers about having these struggles and you said no, did you come back to them and say, yeah, I'm having these issues, I'm seeking help? Did you ever let them know that there's a struggle going on within?
No. I mean, well, okay. So when the whole issue that I talked about with the getting suspended and then starting meditation stuff, obviously my trust in them at the time was pretty low. So I just wasn't going to tell them anything. And to be honest with you, like, when I came back to work, I was in a better spot. I was doing okay. I was figuring it out. But I did everything in my power to just avoid them for the next like
Mm.
year or two. And, other than like morning, just
Yeah.
other than just trying to be civil and somewhat of an adult. um, yeah, no, I just avoided them. And then eventually, w- when I was ready, I went and had a conversation. Well, one of them left, but the remaining ones I went and had a conversation with. And I just said, like, listen, I've been hanging on to this for a while. I've been doing a lot of I'm sick of this tension and like I just want this to go away. Like let's just, and just bury the hatchet type of thing,
Yeah.
And so that did happen eventually. And then shortly thereafter, I started presenting and then they came and heard my presentation, and where I kind of mentioned them and some of their failures and not all of them, but a couple of them. And it was good for a while. Like I thought they were going to be mad, but honestly, I felt like a part of them appreciated it, like because it was honest. Like
Yeah.
I wasn't over exaggerating. It happened, and I wasn't trying to shit talk. I was just trying to tell people this is what fucking happened, And so it was good for a little while, and then some things changed, and then it kind of wasn't good for a little while, and it hasn't been good for a little while, and that's why I have a big beard right now, and that's why I've been out of work for the past 3 months because it's not good again. And so I'm going back eventually. I'm not done. I'm still on the clock, but
Yeah.
I just needed another break, and so I took one.
Good for
And
you. Good for you taking that break, man.
yeah,
It sounds like we have kind of like the same, besides not military background for me, we have a lot of the same background of that leadership issue of, there is no feeling in what they're doing, that it's just treated as a business and not the fire service. Another tangent, I feel like the fire service has become a business,
I
and it never
couldn't
used to
agree
be a
more. Yeah,
business, right? It was about brotherhood and sisterhood, and we call it a firehouse for a reason, because it's
yeah,
our house, it's our home, and
sure.
it's not a corporation, and it's not dollars and cents anymore. It shouldn't have been about that. And I think we have lost focus at times, that we need to bring the firehouse back to the firehouse and not have it as a corporation. And
I
I
agree.
think that, right, and I think that we talk about EAPs, the Employee Assistance Program, and that's an easy cop out, because
Totally.
as long as they handed you that pamphlet and said, "Hey, you need to get help,"
Yeah,
right? They're
right. There
done,
you go.
and that's
Right.
it. And that's where a lot of guys have that disconnect on the EAPs, because they know that they're just saying it because that's their job, and they have to offer it to you. And in
Sure.
my experience, that's what happened to me. Is when I got sat down in my deputy chief's office in my previous department, the first thing he says is, "Hey, are you okay? If you're not, if you need to talk to somebody, here's a pamphlet for help. Here's an EAP." And then he moved on to something else that really pissed me off. And it was a completely, just a, it was, there was no feeling, there was no emotion, that you could tell he didn't give a shit.
It was a
It
check
really
in the
was.
box. Yeah,
It really was. It was checking the box. And
cover
then
his
he's like,
ass.
and it was moving on then to the investigation of try to get me suspended.
Sure. Yeah. Right.
And it was a bad moment. And I walked out of that room like you did. Like, honestly, when I walked out of the room, I had that same feeling of, I don't know where I am right now. I
Yeah.
don't, like, what is happening. My head is spinning. I don't know what just went on in that room, but it's not good. And it was like getting hit by a truck.
Sure.
And it was so not what I expected from a leader, to how to handle that situation. And yeah, I still hold on to it, and I work on it daily to try to figure that out and get through those issues. But man, I'm glad you brought that up, because it's a serious thing, and guys talk about it a lot, and I'm glad they do. And like I said before on many other platforms, is that we're scared still to talk about the issues inside our firehouse.
Yes.
Like, it's easy for us to talk, like, you could talk about the PTSD, and people could talk about military backgrounds, people could talk about childhood abuses, of getting, they can talk about the times they got the shit kicked out of them by their mom and father, right? That's easy to do. But it's difficult to talk about the issues we've had with our chiefs, because we don't want to be ostracized, we don't want to be villainized, we don't want
Right.
to lose our jobs. And I mean,
Here's
there's
the
a shit.
department's dirty laundry, right? I've heard that one
Right.
before. It's like,
Exactly. What
who
happens in
are
the
we
firehouse stays in
protecting
the
here?
firehouse.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So
stop
it's a
protecting
tough thing, man. It's a tough, because that's that culture. You don't talk about it,
Right.
but behind, we talk about it with certain people,
Sure.
and that they understand that they're having the same issues. And as I've begun this platform, more people have come out and told me they've had those same issues, and it's heartwarming to hear. And I'm glad that people are able to feel comfortable to come up and talk to me about it, just like they're able to come up and talk to you after your presentation. Says, yeah, these are the things that are happening, and that's why I think it's so key that people know what you're doing, because it helps a lot of people to hear what we're talking about. They know now they're not alone, that
Sure.
there are ways to deal with this. Meditation, therapy, and literally just if you need to talk to somebody, and if it's me, if it's you, if it helps you, man, I'm all ears. Like, that's what it's about. Like, that's how we should be helping each other. Be available.
Right.
And that's we need to be more of that. Like you said, the bluntness and the honesty, it needs to be there. And I appreciate you, man, for doing what you're doing.
Thank you. I appreciate it too. I mean, I do want to throw one thing out there that for those who are struggling with shame, we'll call it shame, you know, who've lost friends who feel like they let them down and stuff. You can help, but you can't save anyone. So that's just, it's a tough pill to
Mm.
swallow. But for those of you who are choking that down, that it's the truth. And I hope you get to it sooner rather than later, because you, everyone needs to pick themselves up. You know what I mean? I struggle with suicidal ideations for years and years and years. And there was a time where I would beat myself up because I'm like, you're too weak to do it. You know, it's like, where does that, you know, talk about fucked up. But anyway, so to have lived at that level, to live at a level now where, you know, you're just, don't get me wrong, I've been going through some shit, but like, you know, there are days where I just smile
Yeah.
because I'm just like, wow, I feel happy. Like, this is so nice.
Yeah.
And you know, I wish I could give that gift to everyone, and it, you know, it's not without effort, of course, and that's the message, is like, there's no magic pill, there's no easy answer. And you know, yes, you need to be there for your brothers, you need sisters, you need to answer the phone, you need to talk to them, you need to care, just care, you know, hear them out, give them a chance to just talk, shut the fuck up and listen. You know what I mean? Like, don't fix them, you don't need to, that's not on you, you don't have that right or that power, you know, just fucking listen. But at the end of the day, um everyone has to put the time in. You gotta find your own path, you gotta find what works for you. And certainly meditation was the biggest one that has helped me, and so that's the one I have chosen to promote the most, you know.
I love it, man. That's a great message. And you're absolutely right too, that when we open up and we want to talk to somebody and we pick you, just listen, just fucking open up your ears, nod your head, and just let that person just unload. And it does wonders. And like I've said before, I wish people would have done that with me when I was going through my struggles. I felt a lot like you, where they were afraid to approach me. They were, I mean, it was written in my write up. They were afraid to come up to me. They were afraid to talk to me. I was a completely different person than I am today. And I was angry. And again, when I was listening to your story, dude, I was like, man, I felt the same way. Like, I looked angry. I was unapproachable, and I walked around just my head down, shoulders up, and I was not in it at all. And
No.
it was not who I was. And I just wanted someone to talk to me. That's
Yeah.
all I wanted. That's what I wish the most, is this, that the brothers and sisters would have just come up and say, hey man, you okay? Like, what the fuck's going on with you? And I could just literally unload. But in my issue, I couldn't, because
Yeah.
I knew that they would go right to that source. And it happened. It literally happened to me. Like, where we were, this person and I were literally talking in the bay, and I unloaded, and then literally he just walked right to the chief's office and said, Mike's complaining about you. And then literally that chief walked right back to the bay and was, you dude, you got to fucking let it go. What, I hear people that you're complaining about me again. And I was like, wow, I can't talk to anybody. And then that's where it just continued to spiral. So
Trust one. Yeah.
yeah, man. So it's a tough thing. So are you going to be anywhere? How can anyone get a hold of you if they want you to come over and talk about what's going on, and for mental health and awareness and meditation? How can they get a hold of you?
You can't. By design, of course. No, I mean, all right. So I know that you know, you're trying to help me and help them by doing that. But at the moment, I have honestly just intentionally just kind of withdrawn and taken a step back. I am actively going through a divorce. I am not in a great spot at work, you know, and there's a lot of change and stuff going on. So at the moment, normally, even when I don't have shit going on, I am very hard to find, again, by choice. But especially right now, I've taken a break from presenting. I've taken a break from teaching meditation. I took a break from work. I'm just trying to just reset, recalibrate, and just kind of figure it out. And I have had offers, and I do have a presentation lined up in October, down in the Cape or something like that. So I am still out there, and you will start seeing me more. But at the moment, I don't have anything to tell you. I don't have I have a Facebook. I don't go on it.
I know you don't.
I don't have an Instagram. I don't have any of that. I used to give out my email, which I'm reluctant to do because when you're in the paper for mental health advocacy as a veteran and a firefighter, and people see that and they see, oh, here's a guy who was suicidal for years with documented PTSD, and now he's doing great and talking. A lot of people reach out, and which is great, except there are also times where it's very, very heavy, and they expect too much. I can only be effective by sharing my experiences. I have no idea how to fix or help anyone else. I can just share what's worked for me. I can give suggestions. I can help. But again, I can't save anyone. And there has been times where I can look back and say that it has been unfairly put on me by people to save my son, save my brother, save my husband. And I'm like, I would love to, but that I can't. That's not possible. So at the moment, there is no way to contact me, but I would love to be back on the show, and maybe in a couple months or something like that. And then maybe by then I will have a way for people to contact.
I would love it, man. You always have an open invitation here, man. Absolutely. And I anytime, dude, anytime you need me, anytime you, it doesn't have to be the platform, man. This is about building relationships and helping each other out. And if you ever need to talk, I'm here. And I would love to have you back on, and we could talk more. And I hope that everybody who's listening or watching really gets something out of this. Damn, Steve, like your openness and your honesty is crazy impressive, dude. Like I don't think anyone's really met as someone as open as you, and it's inspiring, and it hits me right in the heart, dude. And I love you. I appreciate you, dude. This has been a great opportunity to learn more about you and to hear about how you were able to fix yourself, but still dealing with these issues that still continue to come up. And that's the thing you said, there's no magic pill. And honestly, they'll come back up. You think you're fine, they're going to come back. They really do. The feelings I still have, they'll creep up before you least expect it. You've been having a great day, and all of a sudden it just pops in your head. So I do appreciate that so much. So you heard Stephen Holmes say, like, don't reach out to him right now. Give him his peace and quiet. But if you do need information from me about what we talked about and how to get some help, please reach out to me. And if I don't have the answers, Stephen, if you don't mind, I'll text you a question, and I can get back to that person with that. Awesome.
I just didn't want to ask you to be the middleman, because I don't want to.
I don't mind at all.
But if someone really does, absolutely.
That's what it's about. And you heard it, guys. So if anyone needs something, if you're curious where he went for therapy or how he started the meditation and anything else, I'll do my best to get the answer for you. I like to end my talks too with mental health to support the guys at Next Run. They do a world of wonders for people looking for help. So make sure you are checking them out. Next Run, there's the barcode right there. And there's the back information for phone numbers and anything else. This is a free service. They will look for help in your general area. They don't ask for any money. This is not for fame or glory. What they're doing is to help others get the help they need. Just like Stephen said, you got to fix yourself. And that's what they're trying to do for you. So reach out to Next Rung if you do need help. And if you need some information, I'll be happy to give it to you. Stephen Holmes, thank you so much for being on the C.A.N Report. I appreciate you immensely, my friend.
Thanks. I really appreciate you having me.
Thank you so much, Stephen Holmes. Make sure you are listening to this episode, everybody. It's really, really important. If you got one thing, please do listen to this one. Stephen, I appreciate your service to the United States of America. I appreciate being a Marine. I appreciate your service to the fire service. Everybody else, I appreciate all that you're doing. I thank you so much for listening, for watching, supporting, and continue to be the best that you can be. I love you all. Stay safe. Nozzle top.